Alright, who done goofed today? EA? That's kind of been done to death now. Bungie's the pulp of a dead horse, so that's out. Konami's the Dick Cheney of video games. You just say their name and people laugh, so it's a little too easy. No. I guess I now know how Virgil feels. BioWare. You had a good run, didn't you? I still remember the first time I picked up Mass Effect and felt a genuine sense of awe and attachment. I remember sinking 50 plus hours into it, figuring out all the secrets, all the side quests, and who was the best to romance. Through Dragon Age Origins, I became a die-hard fan of RPGs, and I found out I had a thing for sassy strong women, as anytime one of those archetypes were available, I would romance them in your game. Mass Effect 2 was the first game I pre-ordered, and to this day, I don't regret it, and it still stands as one of my favorite games of all time. However, you aren't perfect. Most of the Dragon Age fans can attest to this, as you released the controversial Dragon Age 2, which felt so limited and dull compared to the original, despite the gameplay improvements. However, I still gave that game 2 playthroughs and still ended up having my character romance one of the sassier NPCs in the game. I was disappointed, but back then I was convinced you would quickly redeem yourself and make the next game better. That next game was Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3 was a turning point. Before its release, a friend and I would argue who was the better studio between Bethesda and BioWare. I could always count on trumping him with arguments of story and better hardcore RPG gameplay. After Mass Effect 3, I could only talk about RPG gameplay, and even that was becoming a weak argument. You had gone and taken an important story-based character and made him Day 1 DLC. You had removed so many great RPG features only to make it more like Gears of War. All of our choices throughout all the games up to that point meant nothing, as the end came down to a nonsensical change in color palette. You had taken my second favorite game franchise and destroyed all my trust in it. I used to be a BioWare fanboy. Like Angry Joe used to be a Bungie fanboy, but like him, I have unfortunately grown disillusioned after the way you handled Mass Effect 3 and its tacked on co-op, but there was hope. A decent Star Wars MMO would hold me over until the next Dragon Age game, with a BioWare ready to prove it had learned, and I was ready to be that fanboy once more. Inquisition came and I loved that game. Not quite as much as Origins, but nowhere near the tedium of Dragon Age 2. And not only did it feel like an apology for Dragon Age 2, it also felt like an apology for the Mass Effect 3 endings. And it seemed like you had promised you had learned. Sure, you still tacked on a horrible co-op, but we all knew it was to keep EA happy. This was BioWare coming back into form. Then Andromeda happened. There are enough videos out there explaining in details all the different and various issues. But I will say that all I could feel was the same disappointment I felt about Dragon Age 2. You had taken your B team and created a C-grade experience. The story wasn't there. For me, there were only 2 likable characters. I was worried, but I knew this wasn't your best. I was hoping your next game would be your redemption story. It looks like it's going to be your last story. We can all admit Anthem has had troubles. You delayed it until 2019, no matter what term your executives want to call it to the investors. You are having to follow that train wreck that is Battlefront 2, and let's be honest, EA is going to try the exact same thing in Anthem. You're going to have loot boxes and a shared open world shooter and the painfully obvious attempt to steal Destiny 2's market share. But you aren't known for these type of games. Star Wars The Old Republic made sense because you worked on that franchise and the combat was fairly similar to your work with Knights of the Old Republic, and the transition to MMO didn't seem that radical. But this is a completely different and oversaturated beast, and your ability to tell a good story with better characters just doesn't seem like what it used to be. From all the headlines and the departures of important staff, I don't have high hopes. This has made me realize how Virgil felt with Visceral. EA is taking a great studio that has done great work when left alone, but they have gone in and messed with that formula for profit. And once you have rendered them those profits at the cost of your reputation and fan trust, you'll be tossed out like a butchered carcass. This is, of course, only conjecture, but history repeats itself, and you are the next step in that pattern. I want Anthem to do well. I really do. But with how Battlefront was handled by EA and how you handled Andromeda, I just don't have faith until I see the final product. But it didn't used to be that way. Anything with BioWare on it, it was going to be a hit. But nowadays, it's a 50-50 gamble I'm just not willing to wage anymore. I hope this entire rant is wrong, but it's probably not. I will be there to support Anthem in the weak hope that it will allow you to return to the amazing work I know you can do, but I'm neither that naive or that stupid. Other game developers have shown me they can put in the effort and the heart you seem to lack nowadays. Don't get me wrong, I will always have a fondness for your work, as Garrison Grunt figures maintain a prominent spot on my desk at work. But you've either lost touch, or EA has you so far under their thumb, you will never return to your original work. But hey.
I won't say it's been easy, but we've had a good run.
The best.
Back from the dead.